Hello, my wonderful third graders. We are still in our Domain 7 Astronomy, our solar system, and beyond. Today's lesson is called Our Solar System Part 1, which tells us that there will be a Part 2 tomorrow. There's a lot to learn about our solar system. All right, some vocabulary words you will hear throughout the read aloud. Asteroids are small, rocky bodies that orbit the sun and that are smaller in size than a planet. Celestial bodies, any objects, including planets, moons, stars, comets, or meteors, which can be found in outer space. Comets are frozen balls of dust and ice whose orbits take them far out in the solar system. The core is the central inside part of a celestial body, other objects or ideas. Debris are bits and pieces of leftover dust and rock. Meteoroids are small pieces of metal or rock that travel through the solar system, and they're much smaller than an asteroid. Satellites are natural or human-made objects that orbit around a planet or other celestial objects. Solar system, our sun and all the planets and other objects that move around it. Terrain is the surface of the land and its features. So for the next several days, you'll be learning about outer space and astronomy. Do you remember what astro means? It means stars. What other words do you know that has the word part astro, A-S-T-R-O? And do you know what those words mean? Have you heard of an astronomer or an astrology, astronomy, astrolable? There are lots of words that start with astro, astronaut, right? They all have to do with outer space and the stars. So you've heard about 5 characteristics last time that determine whether or not a celestial body or object in space is classified as a planet. So we're going to think about those 5 characteristics and why different planets, different celestial bodies are planets. Some are not, including Pluto, right? It does not belong in this category. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So the 5 things that make it a planet are: it is a sphere in shape. It's a sphere in shape and has a large mass. Orbits around a star in an elliptical path. Has cleared most other objects from its path. Is made mostly of rock or gas or a combination. Does not make its own light. Okay, so those are the 5 things about a planet. Imagine traveling to a faraway world and encountering an extraterrestrial being that asks, "Where in the universe is your school?" Who remembers how you would describe your school's space address? You could confidently state part of your space address as the following: your school's name, your school's number and street, town or city, zip code, country. And now we know from last time that we live on planet Earth. You already know a lot about your planet Earth, but if the extraterrestrial life form went on to ask, "So where exactly is planet Earth?" you would need to be able to include the next part of your space address, your planetary system. All right, so there's all our school information. But what is our planetary system? A planetary system is a group of objects in space that have come together to form a neighborhood, a very big, spacious neighborhood. Get it? Spacious? A little interplanetary humor there. It's kind of punny, right? Spacious. Haha. All planetary systems have a star at the center and a collection of planets and other small objects that orbit around it. We call the planetary system that we are part of our solar system. The shape of Earth's solar system looks a lot like a bullseye target. The sun is the bullseye at the center, and the orbits of the 8 planets are similar to the rings around it. Astronomers know for certain about several hundred other planetary systems, but most astronomers believe there may be billions of other planetary systems in the universe besides our own. Billions. A lot of planets, a lot of systems. But what exactly is our solar system? You can think of our solar system as a gigantic neighborhood in space. But instead of being made up of houses or apartments like the neighborhood you might live in, our solar system is made up of the sun and the celestial bodies that orbit around it. Besides the sun, it includes other interesting things like planets and their moons, dwarf planets, satellites, asteroids, meteoroids, and comets. Our solar system is huge, so huge that some of the objects in it are billions of miles away from each other. In fact, the largest part of our solar system is the vast amount of space between all the celestial bodies that are in it. As you have heard, the sun is the center of this neighborhood we call our solar system. Our sun is a star. That's right, it's a gigantic, unbelievably hot mass of gas that makes light and heat for everything that orbits around it. The sun is so gigantic that Earth could easily fit inside it more than 1,000,000 times. Holy mackerel, that is huge. There are 8 planets in our solar system. The planet Mercury is the closest to the sun, followed by Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. One easy way to remember the order of planets is to remember this sentence or mnemonic device. Many very energetic mermaids just swam under Neptune. Besides these 8 major planets, there are also a number of smaller planet-like objects in our solar system classified as dwarf planets. Maybe we'll learn about our favorite dwarf planet that used to be a real planet. Pluto is the most famous dwarf planet because it was considered to be a major planet until 2006, when astronomers discovered other small planet-like objects in our solar system. Many astronomers from all over the world met to discuss a new definition of what makes a planet. Why did Pluto get demoted or reduced in rank from planet to dwarf planet? Astronomers have agreed that a planet has to be able to clear its orbit of most other objects, such as asteroids and other space debris. That's why Pluto doesn't fit into the category of a planet. Because it is so small, Pluto hasn't cleared these leftover pieces of rock and dust from its orbit yet. Pluto is now classified as a dwarf planet. Planets don't make their own light like stars do. When you look up and see a planet shining steadily in the night sky, it is shining because the planet is reflecting the sun's light, not because it's making its own. If the light you see appears to be twinkling, this is a star, not a planet. Each of the 8 planets in our solar system receives light and heat from the sun as it travels in its own special path or orbit around the sun. The orbits of the 8 planets get larger and larger the farther away from the sun they are. Mercury's orbit is the smallest because it is closest to the sun. Neptune's orbit is the largest because that planet is the farthest away. Many, but not all, of the planets have their own natural satellites or moons that orbit around them. Like Earth's moon, these moons travel around a planet at the same time that the planet orbits the sun. It is the light from our sun shining out into the solar system and being reflected back to us that allows astronomers to be able to see a planet and its moons. Even though Earth has only one moon, some of the planets have many. In fact, one of Jupiter's moons, Ganymede, is larger than the planet Mercury. It's a big moon. The amount of time it takes a planet to travel once completely around the sun in its orbit is called a planetary year. Planets closer to the sun have shorter planetary years than planets that are farther away. Mercury's orbit is the fastest of all 8 planets, taking only 88 Earth days to complete its planetary year. But Neptune takes 165 Earth years to go once around the sun. So a 100-year-old grandmother on Earth wouldn't even be 1 planetary year old if she lived on Neptune. But she couldn't live on Neptune, right? Only Earth has life because of where we are in the solar system. How long is Earth's planetary year? Remember we talked about it's 365 and 1/4 days. Since Neptune's discovery in 1846, Neptune has made just over 1 trip around the sun, 1 planetary year. That's crazy. It's a really long year. Who can describe what this bar graph of Mercury, Earth, and Neptune conveys? What can you learn from it? What do you think those red lines mean? Well, this must be Neptune right here, right? With its really, really long year. You can look at the length of the years and compare them. So then we have Earth, and then we have Mercury, and Mercury's is shorter. It looks about half of what Earth's is. Nothing like Neptune, so. Besides orbiting the sun, each of the 8 planets in our solar system also rotates on its own axis. Remember, an axis is the imaginary line that goes from a planet's north pole through its south pole, right through its center. 1 day on a planet is the time it takes the planet to rotate 1 full time on its axis. Other planets have shorter and longer days than Earth. 1 day on Mercury takes about 58 Earth days because Mercury rotates on its axis very slowly. Jupiter's rotation is much faster, clocking in at about 1 Jupiter day for every 10 Earth hours. Although the 8 planets in our solar system have a lot in common, they are also very different too. Many astronomers believe that all 8 planets have a solid core or rocky center, but the first 4 planets, those closest to the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, are small in comparison to the other 4 and have a solid rocky terrain or land surface that you could walk on if you visited them. What word part do terrain and extraterrestrial have in common? What do you think terra means? It actually means earth or land. How would this help you explain the meaning of extraterrestrial? It means beyond earth, extra, more than just the land or the earth. So someone who doesn't live on earth. Wow, it's beautiful. Look at the different sizes of the planets. Can you see where Earth is? Way over here. It is so small compared to these other planets. Wow. The 4 planets farthest away from the Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are called gas giants. Why? Because they are mostly made of gas, so you couldn't walk on their surfaces if you visited, because there's no solid surface or terrain to walk on. The gas giants are also huge. Jupiter is so huge that more than 1,300 Earths could fit inside of it. Most of the 8 planets have moons. Mercury and Venus are the only 2 planets in our solar system that do not have any moons. Moons are satellites, or smaller objects that orbit around a larger planet. Earth's 1 moon is considered to be a satellite because it orbits around Earth. The moon is a natural satellite. Humans have created artificial satellites that have been placed in orbit around Earth to aid in communication and research. Perhaps some of you received television, phone, or computer signals from a man-made satellite. Besides the Sun, the 8 major planets, their moons, and dwarf planets, there are also other neighbors that help make up the neighborhood we call our solar system. These include asteroids, meteoroids, and comets. An asteroid is a space rock that does not have an atmosphere. An asteroid is too small to be classified as a planet because it does not have enough mass or substance to clear other objects and debris from its orbit around the Sun, and it is not round. Most asteroids in our solar system, thousands of them, are located in orbit between Mars and Jupiter in a ring called the asteroid belt. Look at the diagram of the solar system right here. Do you see the asteroid belt? The largest known object in the asteroid belt is Ceres, which is about as large around as the state of Montana is wide. Ceres, once classified as an asteroid, is now classified as a dwarf planet because it is spherical in shape. Because it has not cleared most other objects from its orbit, Ceres is not classified as a planet. Most asteroids are much smaller than Ceres. Many scientists believe that asteroids are material that was left over from the birth of our solar system. You might call them birthstones. Do you think a dwarf planet would really have a birthstone? Just a little more planetary humor. So a birthstone is a special rock linked to the month in which a person is born. For example, emeralds are the birthstone for May birthdays, and the birthstone for a person born in July is the ruby. So my birthstone is the amethyst because my birthday is this month. One of our neighbors in our solar system has 3 different names: meteoroid, meteor, and meteorite, depending on where you find it. Meteoroids are space debris made of rock or metal that range in size from tiny pebbles to large boulders. Many scientists believe they may have broken off from other objects in our solar system, such as asteroids. They are called meteoroids when they are orbiting the Sun in space, but once they enter Earth's atmosphere, they are called meteors. Meteors are also known as shooting stars because they leave a bright streak or line of light that shoots through the sky. This streak of light is caused when the meteor burns up on its downward journey through Earth's atmosphere. Most meteors are small enough that they burn up completely before reaching Earth, but sometimes the larger ones make it to the surface. Meteors that reach the surface of Earth are called meteorites. Sometimes very large meteorites leave large craters or pits on the surface of Earth. Ooh, look at that. Look at those pits that were left from meteors that crashed into Earth. Did you know there are snowballs in space? It's true. They are called comets. Actually, a comet is a chunk of ice, dust, and gas that orbits the Sun in a long, stretched out circle. A comet begins at the outer reaches of the solar system, and occasionally its orbit brings it in close to the Sun. As a comet approaches the Sun, part of its ice evaporates, making it glow and form a bright tail that trails behind it, sometimes for millions of miles. Wow, that's beautiful. Comets shine like this because sunlight reflects off tiny particles of dust that are in the comet's tail. Halley's Comet is a very famous comet that was discovered by English astronomer Edmund Halley. He was the first to realize that it was the same celestial body that returned to Earth's skies every 76 years. In the year 1705, he correctly predicted that the comet would return in the year 1758. The comet was then named Halley's Comet in his honor. It was last seen from the Earth in 1986. So now know that you can describe our solar system as a very large neighborhood in space. It's made up of many interesting neighbors, including the Sun, 8 planets, their moons, dwarf planets, asteroids, meteors, and comets. Our solar system is only one of many planetary systems in the universe, and it's a great place in the universe to live. So, what is our solar system? It is the sun and all the objects that are in orbit around our sun. What kind of celestial bodies can be found in our solar system? It includes planets, the moon, dwarf planets, asteroids, comets, meteoroids, and other space debris. What is the order of all 8 planets from the sun? Do you remember the order? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Which 4 planets form a group closest to the sun? Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. What other characteristic do these 4 planets share? They all have a core, a rocky terrain, and are much smaller than the other 4 planets. Describe the asteroid belt and tell where it is found. It is a ring of large and small asteroids orbiting the sun between Mars and Jupiter. It contains the dwarf planet series. Which planets are next in sequence after Mars in the asteroid belt? Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. What characteristic do these 4 planets share? They are very large, they have an inner core, are far from the sun, and are called gas giants. How is a comet like Halley's Comet different from an asteroid? An asteroid is made of rocky or metallic material like a small planet. Many are found in the asteroid belt. A comet is a lump of ice, dust, and gas. A comet's ice melts as it nears the sun. How are they similar? They are both part of our solar system and they both orbit the sun. Some are similar in size. What is a dwarf planet? It is a spherical celestial body that orbits the sun and has not cleared space debris from its orbit. What 2 dwarf planets did you hear about in today's Read Aloud? Ceres and Pluto. Compare and contrast Ceres and Pluto and the 8 major planets. How are they similar? How are they different? Like some of the planets, Ceres and Pluto are rocky, spherical, celestial bodies that have a regular orbit around the sun. They are smaller than all but Mercury and have more debris than the other planets in the path of their orbits around the sun. Our word for today is core. In the read aloud you heard, many astronomers believe that all 8 planets have a rocky or solid core or center layer. Say the word core. The core of an object is its center or a rocky center. After she ate the apple, Sindri put the apple core in the compost. All right, I'm going to name something, a statement that is either about something that is the core of an object or is not the core of an object. So you need to tell me, is it the core or not the core? The skin of a peach. That is not the core. The rocky center of Jupiter. That is the core. A person's torso or part of the body with the stomach, lungs, and heart. That is the core. The oceans, rocks, and trees on the surface of the earth. That is not the core. The middle part of an apple that you don't eat. That is the core. The iron and nickel at the center of earth. That is the core. Sometimes the word core is used to name the central or main part of an idea. For example, you could say, being kind to others is a core idea in getting along in our classroom. All right, good job, third graders. I hope you enjoyed learning more about our solar system that we live in.